welcome to today's Mystery Masterclass. I have an incredible, fun surprise for you in store today. I wanted to get back to the basics as it goes with business. You are so creative. You have infinite number of ideas. You make fast decisions because you're at a level of consciousness, opportunities everywhere. You might get bright, shiny object syndrome. You might be pursuing multiple things all at once. You may have some analysis by paralysis coming in, but ultimately, as a creative and as somebody who's innovative and sees opportunity and possibility everywhere, at some point, it's pretty normal that your business starts to get more complicated than it needs to be. You start pursuing the passion and the joy and the flow that comes with creativity. And a lot of times it ends up coming with a cost to sustaining and maintaining your business growth. Who's in that position or who's experienced that where you're like, I could do this and I could do that. And you start like scattering your energy in all sorts of different directions in pursuit of your big vision. And it gets to a place where you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm doing a little bit of everything. And at the end of the day, hardly even know what I'm accomplishing or I'm achieving, or if I'm really moving the needle forward as effectively or as potently as I can. You are not alone because it just comes with the territory. It comes with the territory, especially of higher levels of consciousness. And I fell into this pattern multiple times, probably every single month. Ask Ash. We're constantly pivoting and creating. And then I usually hit a point of frustration or the void, or I go into a deep, dark, like, what the hell am I even doing? Is what I'm doing even making an impact? Am I even imposter syndrome and all this stuff starts to come in? It's like this ultimate level 5 consciousness dive back into level 1, and then I find myself back to the basics, which always just feels grounding and practical and clear and exciting. And there's no right or wrong with all of this, but you each have your own patterns about how this plays out in your business and in your life, probably. And it's how do we honor all of us? How do we honor that creative, free-flowing, risk-taking, entrepreneurial part of us in business, but also in other areas of life without compromising the stability and sustainability and the go-to actions that always lead to results, and creating enough time and expanding time to be able to do all of it so that we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater when we're pursuing all the exciting things over here. And this leads right away to a lot of times we're attaching all of this stuff over here, all the exciting new shiny objects, to an intention of growing the business. That may be the first place that we start to create a fault line in our structure and in how we are organizing business, because it's almost like we attach that intention to everything we do. Once we get into business, it's not uncommon for you to feel like, okay, how am I going to monetize that? How am I going to turn that into impact? How am I going to use that to help me pay the bills? There's nothing wrong with any of that. But a lot of times, all of this stuff is super fun and exciting and awesome puzzles that we're putting together and really creative, but it's pulling us away from the steady, sure, and tried way to grow our business. So my intention today is let's get back to the foundations, let's get focused, and let's do the things that are going to work for you no matter who you are. And you still get to choose something creative within this tried and true path, but it's one creative thing instead of 18 creative things. My favorite analogy for this, again, this kind of 5-1 interplay, or literally level 5, the disadvantage of level 5, is if you imagine mining for gold and you're digging a little hole here and a little hole here and a little hole here, and every single hole, if you just keep digging, you will strike the vein of gold. But our challenge is we get tired and we get impatient. We're like, oh, it's not working. I gotta bail. And so let me go dig a different little hole. What I want to really share with you today is every single hole you are digging will lead to gold. All paths lead to your inevitable success. If it's not working, it's not because you chose the wrong path. It's because you're not sticking with it potentially, or having the tenacity, the grit, the determination, the trust, the belief, the knowing that maybe it's not happening on your timeline, but it is happening. And When it happens is none of our business. And while we are waiting for it to happen, we are always taken care of. So long as our intentions are clear and clean and coming from a true heart's desire place, and we remain in trust. It is happening. It's as close as your breath. And the challenge when we focus on one direction or one hole is we don't know how far we have to dig. And we think that there's another place over here that is a shorter hole. And I can tell you, there are no shortcuts. There are no shorter holes to achieving it. And as I say that, I am going to share there is, but it might not align with your gifts or your talents, and that's okay. But no matter what, there's a path of least resistance, and what you're balancing is one, your gifts, your talents, what feels expansive in the hole that you choose, and how can it feel expansive even when you're having to dig and dig and dig and you're not seeing the goal, but it still feels like the right direction for you. And then also just the reality of building relationships and which holes take longer to build relationships than other holes. So we're just finding the perfect match for you to focus and dial in on exactly what's going to work best for you. Okay, so foundations, nitty gritty. First and foremost, the key thing here is focus. Hello, ADHD entrepreneur, squirrel all over the place. It's probably one of our biggest challenges for most of us. And so if we get to the simplistic nuts and bolts of business, there's only 3 phases relationships are going through to go from somebody who doesn't know you or know of you to somebody who is saying, you are the coach for me. There's always only 3 phases. The first phase is, how are they discovering you? How are they finding you? We'll call this is where you're getting leads. This is the place, this is probably the place that most of us are digging multiple holes. We're like, I can do organic social media. I can explore Facebook ads. I can explore strategic partnerships. I can do networking. I can do speaking. I can do this. I can do that. It's like, how are you getting in front of and visible to new people on a consistent and regular basis, and old people that are already in your network? The fastest path is leveraging the relationships that you already have established, trust, know, and trust. Know, love, and trust. Even through acquaintances or referrals, nurturing those relationships. There's your existing audience floating out here, and then it's how are we also being discovered and seen by others. And then we just talk about organic social media. We got LinkedIn, we got TikTok, we got Instagram, we got Facebook, we got all of these. So now you can see how quickly we're trying to be everywhere and trying to be discovered everywhere. But because we're going wide and not deep, we're not really being discovered anywhere. And social media is such a perfect example. Every single platform requires a different technique. Some use SEO like YouTube and LinkedIn. Some just it's 100% organic, randomly based on engagement. It's the algorithm's different in every single one. So the approach and the strategy is different for every single one. It's not one size fits all to any of them. So now you're trying to master all these different things. And should you do video or should you do written? And writing doesn't feel the best when you could use ChatGPT. And like you can just see like how quickly our mind just gets super staticky and it's hard to move forward. So what I want to invite you to do today is to choose one and go deep with it. And if you've been in business for a long time, reevaluate if it's still the one. So I'm going to share a little story with you about this reevaluation. I have a little history about my business. I started my business focusing on networking and getting masterful at networking. And that was, if you are a newer coach that is still wanting to get your first 10 clients, I am telling you, there is no faster way to build relationships than to bring your vibrant, high conscious, magnetic energy belly to belly in front of people. Does it feel convenient? No, because you've got drive time and get ready time, and it feels a little scarier for most of us because we can't just hide behind the computer. But at the end of the day, the fastest path to relationships and building relationships is when people see you, they feel you, they experience you. It's a one-on-one conversation or a one in a very small group conversation. They hear your elevator pitch, they hear your passion. It could be a room full of people. and it's going to spark somebody, and you're going to start building and deepening that relationship. And so that was exactly the kickstart to my business, was networking, and that built my business to the first probably $50,000. And not everybody's going to do it this way, but I'm just sharing with you my experience. It gave me the biggest ROI. So the investment that I made monetarily to network was very low. It was an investment of time. However, the time was worth it at that stage in my business because I was bootstrapping everything. I didn't have a lot of resources at the very beginning of my business. Then the next strategy to become visible, I went straight into full-on online marketing and paid advertising. Whole different ballgame, but I chose to master that direction. There's pros and cons to all of this. That's why I say it doesn't really matter which hole you choose, but ultimately the con of networking was, the cons I found was I exhausted my network pretty quickly. I had to start traveling further away because I live in a small town. So now I was looking at least a half to a full day of just to attend a networking event. And so it was just becoming a lot of time. And now my client load was picking up. So my time was getting a little bit more constricted. But in the beginning, I didn't have any clients. So I had all the time in the world to just get my ass out there and go meet people and go connect with people. And I'm an introvert. So if anybody's like, I'm an introvert, does not matter. If you just start being you and you're so authentic and magnetic, you just bring light into a room, every single one of you. Share that gift in those spaces. Okay, so then Facebook ads, pros and cons of that. Whew, scalability, the sky's the limit. It was limitless. I could put my message in front of as many people as I ever wanted to or that I wanted to pay. So now I shifted my business model from investing time to investing money, lots of money. So leads at that time were like, normally they were going for about $4 to $5 a lead. I was able to get my lead cost down to $2 per lead. So $40,000 built me a list of 20,000 entrepreneurs who were interested and intrigued to learn about energy leadership. And so that was great. That was fantastic. But then there was a whole process to how do you take that cold traffic and develop a relationship online and really create that relationship so that they're ready to step into your bigger offer and your bigger invitation. And so that was like a completely different skill set, right? But I chose, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to master a webinar funnel, which required Facebook ads, a high converting webinar, and mastering sales conversations. And I knew once I dialed that in, if anybody has done it before, if you're intrigued by a certain process of client creation and client attraction, if anybody's done it before, you can do it. It's not rocket science. What usually gets in the way is our scattered energy and what's between the ears here and our inner blocks and all the fears and all that stuff. So the disadvantage of that was it's a lot harder to establish a close connected know and trust relationship leveraging only online, where I'm talking at people and it's less of a conversation. And so there's just a lot of mechanics in the back end to be able to make that happen through email sequences and webinars and sales conversations and follow up and all that. So it's time and money. So then the next transition for me was going into strategic partnership with IPEC, which has been my primary form of connecting and calling people into my field and establishing know and trust. Amazing strategic partnerships. So again, if this is the thing you're going to choose to go deep in or even manifest, we'll talk about the energetics. I'm just going into the practical side of things right now. But if you talk about strategic partnerships, it's who is serving an audience that they're serving them differently, that your skill set can fill a gap. And so you can create a strategic partnership. And those can look a multitude of ways. But ultimately, IPEC was looking for business mentors to be able to support their coach community. And then as a lead trainer, like again, with strategic partnerships, there's a huge transference of trust. So it's less time of me trying to establish know and trust, although there's still plenty of work to do there when you are in a strategic partnership. But you're halfway there because it's if this organization that I already trusts this person and is highlighting this person, I already trust them too because there's just beautiful transference of trust. Creating strategic partnerships is, again, it's a very unique way. The advantage is now you're building relationships with other leaders and establishing and negotiating what is the win for both of you. And then once that's really established, then ultimately you've got access to their entire audience and that can grow your business in that way. So I'm just sharing the different first phase, like how do we get seen? How do we be discovered? How do we get in front of people that we don't already know, or even the people that we already do know, which the people we do know, it's very simple. just reach out and connect, check in. How you doing? What's new? What's happening in life, right? Which is the shortest path if you're a newer coach. So there's some great examples. And now more recently, it's been 100% organic social media, content creation, all of that, super inconsistent in my world, but that's its whole other thing. I would say that's the slowest path that I've experienced personally compared to the other three paths that I've taken. However, it's still impactful. I know some of you on this call, like you came through organic social media, or maybe you came through an ad and you don't even remember you came through an ad and then you started following me on organic, right? So there's also all this cross-pollination. Okay, so all of that, it's like there's a million different pathways. Those are only the pathways I've explored. And I started all this conversation because if you've been in business for a long time, you want to take a look at, is this still the pathway I want to take? So what I can assure you is the reevaluation of your pathway, you look at it not through the lens of outcomes, you look at it through the lens of level 3, which is, where am I just going through the motions and not stretching myself anymore? Where am I just doing what's comfortable? How am I staying the same and not growing? I don't care if it's growing in business or if it's growing personally or if it's reaching your next level in any other way. But where am I settling? Because what was a stretch for me is no longer stretchy. And so this is the reevaluation process that I'm in right now, is frankly, you get to a place in business, you're like, okay, I'm bored. Like I could do this in my sleep. And you get to, what other possibilities exist? What would feel stretchy for me? What would feel scary? What would be the opposite of an approach I would typically take? What would be something brand new that I could learn, that I could be a beginner in again, that I have no experience or preconceived ideas about? It's like a massive leap into the unknown in some way, shape, or form. It can be. And my stretchy, which is really fascinating, is I'm going back to networking. I'm going back to belly. I'm going back to being offline a little bit. So Ashley's helping hold me accountable. I have 2 networking events this week, and I'm literally scared shitless because I'm a totally different person and I haven't been in a networking space in this version of myself. It's been over a decade since I've networked. It feels very vulnerable and very scary. But that's what's so beautiful, is that's the stretch. One of my mentors once said, anything you do fearlessly, you do in mediocrity. So if there's any aspect of your business that you've achieved some level of mastery and it's ridiculously comfortable for you, it might be time to reevaluate and come up with a new pathway to be in front of people. The whole point of that is choose one to mastery. Choose one until you are bored with it because you know it like the back of your hand. Give it a fair shot. Dig it all the way down to the bottom. Every single pathway leads to your inevitable success. So long as you just choose to take a mastery orientation and learn and stretch and grow and improve every step of the way. If we get to the fundamentals and we focus, what's standing out to you about your ideal pathway? Where do you want to focus? Where do you want to step into mastery when it comes to lead generation? We're getting leads in this phase. Podcast. So the podcast piece, there's another thing that I hear a lot, and I just want to address this piece, is if we're going the podcast route, that actually isn't getting in front of people unless we are promoting it. So some of our avenues for visibility, we have some misconceived ideas about how it really goes. Most things like a podcast, a book, a website are not, if I build it, they will come, but require, same with organic social media, honestly. It is, if I build it, I must promote it and drive people there. And so now we're also, like, for example, with a podcast, if you're just popping up a podcast, you might be able to get a handful of views based on the keywords that you're choosing and the topics that you're writing about. There's definitely some keyword stuff that can pop up, but mostly it's now, how are you getting in front of people to promote the podcast? So the same is true with a book. I think my book how many years has it been here? 4 years? Has sold 260 copies maybe. So again, the book's not driving any traffic. Those 260 copies were sold to the people who were already in my audience. So that's a really interesting thing to think about, is to, again, just do some more research. What is the story I'm telling myself? And to bring in some of our realists, our realism, to be like, and how true is that really? How do podcasts grow? I actually found this super fascinating. I was so thrilled when I went to Hay House's writers contest. They were very clear. They only, even getting your book completely published, so their writers contest, just a little background, if you want to write a book and you don't have a platform, that's what their writers contest is for people that they see have talent, but they don't yet have the platform to promote their book. And that's why they only award a handful of people. And my platform was considered small enough to be considered for their writers contest prize, even with a list of 20,000 people and a social media following between all platforms of probably just under 10,000, well, more on my pages, probably 15,000 as well. That platform still was considered not a big enough platform for traditional publishing. And so it's just, I would have not known that had I not been educated at that conference. Oh, in order to get a book deal, they're not just looking at your book. Is this marketable and is there an audience for it? They're looking at what's your platform and how are you going to market your book? How are you going to get this in front of people? How are you going to get this in front of people so that we can make money? So we, meaning you, the author, and us, the publisher. So think about that with podcasts. It's very similar as well. I'm always cautious about this because this is the one hand. This is the human realm. We also have energetics. There's limitless potential and possibility. There's a lot we can manifest, but it's not handed to us on a silver platter. How we manifest and how we leverage energy is we get ideas that shortcut the pathway to the human realm. So that's really what happens in the manifestation thing. For example, if I'm going to do a podcast or I'm going to write a book and I'm visualizing and intending and I'm seeing and I'm feeling and I'm knowing and I'm trusting and I'm having faith that my book is going to be a bestseller, this book being a bestseller is not being delivered to me as a certificate that says, your book's now a bestseller. It's being delivered to me with ideas. Oh, it's time for you to do the book on Audible. Okay, I'll do the book on Audible 4 years later. Oh, you might want to incorporate this into your email list. Okay, I'll incorporate it into my email list. So the majority of my book sales have happened just in the last year, probably, because now I'm getting ideas. So the manifestation is the ideas and putting the ideas into action that then create the manifestation. So I wanted to share that because I always get tricked up around, yeah, but we talk about manifestation, we talk about energy, we talk about the power to create our reality, and we can create anything we put our mind to. Yes, that is the truth. And it is with boots on the ground. And we are still operating in the human realm, which is very slow compared to the spirit realm. And so how spirit bridges that for us is by giving us the ideas to speed up the human realm. But never are we manifesting the exact thing that we're asking for. It's not delivered to us on a silver platter. It's not like, here's your $1 million. It's like this idea that probably makes absolutely no sense. All of a sudden connecting the dots looking backwards. Holy shit. That led to that, led to that, led to this manifestation. How cool is that? But it's never like, all of a sudden I woke up one morning and I had $1 million in my bank account. Total side tangent there, but I always feel tricked up when we're balancing human and spirit, 100% human, 100% spiritual. So sometimes when I go so deep into strategy with you guys, I'm like, gosh, I feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, because can't we just like really create anything we put our minds with? Yes, we can do that. And there is this, it's both. That's why we are 100% human and 100% spiritual. I'm willing to do the things. It's how to get the followers. Yes, right? So there it is. It's okay, I'm on social media. I'm doing all the things, but it's not creating organic traffic. And so we know when it comes to LinkedIn, for example, or Facebook, you can send 100 connection requests a day on Facebook, and you can send 30 connection requests a day on LinkedIn. So that's why social media, to me, just really organic, takes a long time. Unless one of your other pathways, like strategic partnerships, drives the audience to social media. Now I call it cross-pollinating, but we don't have to worry about cross-pollination until we master the thing that is getting us consistent traffic right out of the gate. And there's no easy button except for the button that we receive through the idea coming from our higher self or from Gus. That's the only easy button we get. And while we are waiting for easy button, while we are waiting for idea, we are acting as if and taking the action with our focused, harnessed energy in the direction of the desire. And we are enjoying it, and we are loving the process, and we are learning, and we are growing. And that is the point of it. And that is the fun of it, because so long as we are stretching and growing and leaning more into trust and faith, and when we want to pull the plug, say, nope, I'm going to strike gold. I'm going to stay the course. That is a way that we inspire Gus to drop the idea in. And we're always asking, give me the ideas, drop in the ways that bring me into alignment with the desire of my heart. And then we're receiving the ideas, and we put those ideas, the insights, the intuitive hits, the guts ahead of the grind. If we prioritize, it's like we prioritize ideas, intuitive hits, and gut instinct over the grind. But while we are waiting, we do the thing. We do the thing. Okay, first thing, pick one way to be in front of people on a consistent, regular basis. And again, you might start with, if I were starting a business from scratch right today, which I'm restarting another business from scratch, I'm leveraging my existing network. So I'm having calls with people who can connect me to resources that align with my new vision. That's what my focus has been for this new direction that I'm exploring. I'm leveraging my existing network. Who do you know? What's right in my backyard? Who are people that I can reconnect with that already on some level have heard my name because I've been a part of this community for decades, that I have a trustworthy name, that I've given back to this community, that I've sat on boards, that I've done presentations in courthouses. How do I just get reconnected to my existing sphere of influence? And that's where I'm starting. I'm back to square one there. And so once I exhaust that, and as I'm exhausting that, my next step is networking. So I'm just going right back, because I know that those relationships are going to form the fastest, and that a lot of times the synchronicity that we experience that shortcuts our path to success happens through people and happens through relationship. Usually the ideas we get guide us to another human that we were destined to connect with for some purpose that we may not even understand. And those connections are how the synapses of manifestation come to be. It's always through ideas and people. And so the more people that I'm connecting with, perfect example, oh my God, this is so freaking cool. I love this. It brings tears to my eyes, being able to play back into this belly to belly space. So get this. This is when you're like, holy shit, this is such a fucking cool synchronistic universe. So I have two areas of my life right now that are consuming a lot of my energy. One is health. I have huge lifestyle changes I'm stepping into because I've gotten results that I don't love in my labs and all this stuff. I'm like looking under the hood at everything. And so I've got this functional nutritionist that we are just dialing everything up. And then I'm getting back to doing my book on Audible. So anyways, I find a guy in a studio and a sound engineer right in my backyard. I decided I'm going to go local. I'm going to get grounded back into my roots here. So I find a guy pretty much in my backyard, huge musician, studio, sound engineer, has done some audiobooks. And I go to his website. Wouldn't you know it, my functional nutritionist teaches piano lessons. There's two people on the page, him and my nutritionist. And I had no clue that she does piano lessons. I'm like, that's my guy. I don't need to look for anybody else. I know that this is the person that's meant to help me, or that I'm meant to invest in to help me with my audiobook, and that this is the person that's meant to help me with my health, and they're on the same exact page. What are the freaking odds, right? That's that playing place. So again, how many hours did that save me when we start playing with ideas, synchronicities? And I got introduced to the guy who does the music from the guy who recorded my live event, who also happens to live in my hometown many years ago. He brought his whole camera crew and recorded the live event for me. And he recommended him. And that's the power of, and then you just get confirmation and validation. Again, I've been in the online world solely for over a decade. And if you're an online marketer and you haven't been offline, you may want to consider offline. And if you're an offline marketer, you may want to consider online. You just see if it's time to shake things up. But if you haven't mastered the thing right in front of you that you're called to, just keep going and stay the course. Pick one. Pick one. You can have a secondary on deck, maybe because right now you've got 100% of time dedicated to marketing because you're still waiting to build up delivery, then 100% of that time is committed to that. But if you are like, okay, there's literally nobody else I can think of to reach out to or follow up to, I'm at a standstill for strategic partnerships. It's too soon for me to do any follow-up. I'm going to let that sit. Now I'm going to go into my secondary, if that's what you want to do. But again, it's not to distract you from your primary, especially if you're in corporate coaching and stuff like that. There's just things that get held up and you're just in a standstill. Then pick another one, but don't pick all of them. Just pick another one to step into mastery around. It's like your second choice. So that's leads and visibility. From leads and visibility, everything that we are doing, and we can make this path as long as we want or as short as we want, but everything that we are doing to go from leads to prospect is driving to a conversation, driving to a one-on-one conversation. And we do that, we can market these conversations so that they're very clearly benefit focused. This is not a free coaching session. I love Christian Michelson's, actually, that's where I learned and how I drove a ton of sales conversations right out of the gate, was you call it a benefit focused title. So it could be, I always call mine the business breakthrough session. It's a benefit focused title. So just think of your ideal audience, think of what they want the most, the goal accelerator session, the whatever you want to call it, but call it something that has a benefit focused statement in it. And then you're articulating the benefits of hopping on the call. And those benefits, again, I learned this from Christian Michelson a long time ago, and it's always worked. And so I continue to just teach it. Why change it if it's not broken? And the benefits, because when you know how to do sales, which we'll talk about, that's phase 3, but when you know how to do sales, is in the sales conversation, we're always creating the gap from where they are to where they want to be. And so you can frame up the benefits as get crystal clear about what your vision is for, insert audience desires, emotional benefits, what they want. Uncover, bullet number 2, uncover the challenges or things that might be getting in the way of you getting what you want, big, bold benefit. Again, walk away from the session feeling clear, energized, motivated, excited, confident. Bring in a feeling. Like that, those are the 3 bullets. I have it, like how the call to action might sound is and you can shift this to your audience, adapt it, do some improv, right? If you're in one place, you're like, gosh, there's a lot of direct sellers here. I have the direct seller team breakthrough session, whatever, just call it whatever you want. We're going to uncover your challenges with team and how to motivate your team and engage your team more. And we're going to dig into your biggest vision, because clarifying that vision is going to give you the direction you need to achieve it. And then you're going to leave the session clear, energized, ready to take action and get those results once and for all. Boom. That's so call to action. So yeah, anywhere you go, you're driving to that. If your choice is strategic partnerships, you're creating a strategic partnership to offer their audience one of these conversations. This is the shortest path, right? So again, we can all dig holes. We can do fancy lead magnets and email sequences, and we can do all the shit. Yes, we can. And the more steps you have in this process, the more people you lose along the way. There's a huge kind of trend happening in online marketing right now as it pertains to Facebook ads. You guys might have seen these, but I love this. It actually ties into audience energetics. And yes, there are a multitude of audiences that we're always engaging with based on their level of awareness and their buying intent, right? Where are they at? Are they adamantly ready to resolve the challenge and achieve the goal, or are they just thinking about it? And so when we create long funnels of a lead magnet and email sequences and all of that, who we're grabbing and speaking to are the people that are like, I think I might want to do something about that. I'm not really sure what yet. I'm exploring all my options. That's fine. There's a huge audience. There's a huge audience of people. The majority of people are in that audience. But what I'm talking about with this shortened funnel is we can go for the cream of the top, because is also a percent, and I think what I've heard people say is like 8% of people are actually in a position where they are ready to make the decision. They know what they want, they know what they need, they're looking for the solution, and they're ready to make the decision, and they're ready to invest. And so offering direct to a conversation with strong benefits, you're grabbing the top of the people that are at a decision-making point in their process. And so I'm like, we can make it longer. And maybe after we exhaust pulling the cream of the top, maybe then we'll go into a lead magnet and start playing with that so that we're building a list for ongoing nurturing. But you can see that's why we get so confused, is these all fit into something. And depending on where you're at in your business requires a very customized solution. So if you're newer, your shortest path is belly to belly, drive to a conversation, make an offer, and sign a client. If you've been in business a long time and your time is a little bit more strapped, you might want more barriers to access to you. So you might be like, no, I'm not just going to open up my calendar and have these conversations. I don't have the capacity for that. So I'm going to actually have them opt in for a lead magnet, hear my message a little bit further, so I can make an invitation that's a little bit more direct that moves them to that closer place. Because now I'm in a one-to-many stance. Maybe you're creating a mastermind or a group program as opposed to a one-on-one. And so it just depends on where you're at in business. But we all have to start where we are. And if we can't sell to one person, we can't sell to many people. Most of the time, it is actually a stair step. Most mistakes I see a lot of coaches make is they really want to have a group program, but they don't have the audience or the leads yet to fill a group program. So they end up getting 1 or 2 clients in that group program. They're charging half of what would have charged for private coaching because they're passionate about doing groups, but our business isn't at a place yet where we have enough people to offer up a group program. And so that's why like the strategies vary based on where you're at in your business. And I know we've got some super experienced business people here on this call, and we've got other people that are just getting started on this call. So I'm trying to help maneuver and make sense of how do you choose what to do. And if you're in the beginning, the most simplistic, streamlined, direct path to clients is going to eliminate a lot of that static conversations. And if you're further along in business and you've mastered sales already and you've mastered lead gen, oh my gosh, that opens up whole new opportunities for learning and growth and expansion. Now we're scaling. So we're launching and we're scaling. And what I see is a lot of coaches are stepping into launch strategies or scale strategies when they're in launch phase. And most ads that are crossing your path don't differentiate where you are in your business. And so it all looks juicy and we try to fast track our process, but we can't have an audience of 100 until we've had an audience of 1 or 10. Now, the speed at which that happens, sure, it can happen. But if we haven't gotten one person to say yes, what makes us think we're going to get 100 people to say yes? So this is the mastery orientation. Okay, the shortest path in launch is pick the thing that establishes relationships the fastest, your warm audience fastest. Belly to belly networking, connecting, conversing, building real relationships, either in your community, having shared connections and knowing, you know, so-and-so knows so-and-so. You went to that college, I went to that college. Like those kinds of conversations and finding those tying, bonding things establishes relationship the fastest. Scale phase, you might not have the capacity. Your business is at a place where it would take too much time for you to go into a networking place with an already established business. And so maybe now you're pursuing speaking. Now I don't want to be in the networking. I want to step on stage and be the authority so people are coming to me at networking events and I'm not just chit-chatting with a bunch of people, right? But now you have the chops because of your experience to step up on stage and speak. And I'm not saying that you have to do networking before you speak. If you've got public speaking ability and a message that's going to align with an audience, you can speak right away. I'm just sharing different examples here. Okay, so leads to prospects. Prospects are the people that you're having sales conversations with. I always say if there's one skill that we want to master in business, it's sales and selling from service and selling from high levels of consciousness. And if we don't master that, our business gets really stuck. So sales is a version of coaching. It's a curious, open, detached mindset, but it's also very strategic. And we are asking strategic questions because we are wanting to get the lay of the land about the person in front of us. We are present, we are listening, we are open, we are curious, we are listening and watching for opportunities to be of service. And in order for us to do that, there's certain questions we want to ask people in those conversations. And so the sales process is very meticulous, both energetically and strategically. And I just actually had a client, oh my goodness, I have this situation where I have a tendency to just, you guys all do this, you do this, right? You do this where you see the people in front of you and they are so magnificent and accomplished and brilliant and their potential like just shines out of them. Like I don't work with clients that I don't see all of that almost instantly. So then I come to the conclusion, oh my gosh, they already know all this. We don't need to talk about this. They're getting some sales and they're having some success. They already know all this. I've been working with a client for over a year and he started a sales program with somebody. And he's like, gosh, did you know? He told me to stop using that script that we got at IPAC. And I was like, you are not using that script from IPAC, are you? He's like, yeah, that's what I've been using since I've been in business. I'm thinking, why didn't I tell you this a year ago? Because I just assumed that I don't want to be condescending or tell people things that they already know. And if they needed to know, they would ask. And oh shit. I felt like I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've totally failed you. Of course, this is like complete catabolic stress reaction of level 1 because he'd had so many sales conversations that didn't close. And it's like the simplest tweaks that would have changed everything for those conversations. Crazy. Okay, so sales conversations. Yes, they are strategic. The energetics have to be meticulous, not have to be, but when they are, the conversions are inevitable, absolutely inevitable, easy for people to say yes to. So that's this prospect conversation is really the sales conversation where we are uncovering the needs, desires, challenges, and frustrations and determining, can I genuinely and sincerely help this person get from where they are to where they want to be? And if the answer is yes, then I have a responsibility to give them the option to say yes or no to working with me, to give them an opportunity to make a conscious choice of if they want help and if they want to step into partnership with me. That's the prospect phase. Again, where we can get staticky is we're like, I'm going to sell on a webinar. I'm going to create a sales page. I'm going to build a course that's super low ticket and see how many people come into that. But remember, if you didn't dial in the first thing, if you're not getting in front of hundreds of people, who's going to your sales page that you're trying to sell something at, right? So we have to remember, do I have the audience to be able to sell in this way? And if I don't have the audience, how I'm selling is with conversation and conversation alone. If I have the audience and a means to drive a consistent audience, then yes, I likely may want to do a sales page. Or maybe I want to do something lower ticket. Or maybe I want to do a one-to-many program. Maybe I want to do a hybrid program. Which again, when we talk about deliverables, it's like when we're trying to decide between one-on-one and group and everything, like it's beautiful when we can create a hybrid program when we don't quite have the audience yet. So you can see it's like a little puzzle. We're putting the puzzle pieces together based on exactly where you're at in business. If you're in launch phase, then the pathway we want to keep as simplistic and focused as we can. If you're in scale phase, then that requires a whole different set of strategies because we're basically blowing up what we already know we're good at. We already know we can sell. We already know that people are interested in our offer. We already know that people are coming through our door. So now how do we scale it? How do we multiply it? But if people aren't coming through our door and people aren't buying our offer yet, and we're not delivering results and people are thrilled with it, then we're not ready to scale because we just have to start where we are. Leads is visibility. That's marketing. Prospects is sales. That's making offers, inviting people to work with you, inviting people into your service or your product. That's the other thing too. A number of clients come to me and they've had immense business success selling products or mainstream services. I've had insurance and financial advisors and real estate agents and all that. Personal brand selling is a totally different ballgame. Like you are literally selling yourself and your genius. They might be saying we're starting to get to a place where if you're a coach, like they might be saying, oh, I'm looking for a coach. Like it's becoming mainstream enough now in today's world, but it's not an urgent, like I need to sell my house. My kids have moved out and I want to downsize. So I need to find a realtor. It's much more intricate. And so that's why this little process of leads, sales, and then clients and delivery, that's the third thing. You make your invitation and they become your client and now you get to deliver. So those are the 3 phases that we're moving people through. Visibility, which is marketing, driving those that see us into a conversation, that's sales, just fundamentals here. And you can go back, if you're an experienced business owner, you can say, wait a second, what part of this am I missing? Or have I changed? Or have I, in my case, sometimes I'm like, or I've gotten too cool for, but it happens to be the thing that always works like clockwork, right? Where have I overcomplicated it? Where have I created too many barriers to access because of some weird value I have about freedom, yet I actually love my value of connecting with people and serving people is higher than my value of freedom. So what the fuck was that about? So it's like, where did I start veering off track is the question that you more established business owners can ask yourself. And how do I get refocused? How do I want to generate leads with all the experience and expertise I have now and scale? And how do I want to turn those leads into conversations or through sales pages if that's where you're at in your business? And then it's, what do I want to deliver? And so this is your no-brainer offer. This is the invitation that just makes sense. The sales sets the stage for it, because it's all focused on benefits, not on delivery. My favorite way to think about that, I learned from Lisa Sasevich, is focus on the destination, not the vehicle. So I review a lot of people's sales pages, a lot of my clients' sales pages, and a lot of it's like just the logistics. You're going to get a coaching session. You're going to get this many coaching sessions. They're going to last this long. You're going to get this assessment. You're going to get this results. But what does that mean for them? What is that actually going to give them? What is the benefit of receiving all of that? Because it's like saying to somebody, you're going to be flying on a jet. There's going to be 3 rows. The first row is going to have 2 seats. The second row is going to have 5 seats. And the third row is going to have 2 more seats. So it's a pretty big plane. But just so you know, like, you've got all of the doors and the exits and everything that you need to be able to be safe, even though it's a big plane. But no matter what, that's how we're going to get you from Minnesota to Cabo. I don't fucking care. I don't care what kind of plane it is. Tell me about what's going to happen when I get to Cabo. Tell me about the weather and the fun and the adventure and the dancing. Paint me that picture, because I really don't care about the vehicle. Just get me there. Just bring me there. Just show me what's possible when I get there. So vehicle versus destination, or window versus view. Let's not talk about the window. Let's talk about the view. What's possible? So the sales conversation at the end, when we're diagnosing and getting the lay of the land, now we're like, okay, what is the picture I want to paint of possibility for this person? Should we choose to partner together? And why does partnering together make sense for them? And what is possible for them? And we make the offer. And then the logistics are like, and how we do that is with private coaching. And how we do that is in a group setting. And how we do that is takes like 2 seconds. And the investment is 2 seconds. Like, the logistics are nothing. So now they're a client. And so now you get to focus on your favorite part for most of you, which is delivery, which is doing the work that you want to do. And again, as you're just starting, my recommendation is 1 lead generation, 1 sales conversation, 1 way to do sales conversations, 1 offer. Because a confused mind can't move forward. If you're like, we could do this, or we could do that, or we could just start with this, what would you want? It's like, our role as the leader of our expertise and how we know we can help people is to make a recommendation. Given everything you've shared with me, I would recommend that we work together in a one-on-one capacity so that you can benefit. 1 offer, 1 way to drive people into conversation. Focus, simplicity, commitment to a mastery orientation, trust. That's our pathway. Okay, so I want to open it up for any and all questions you'll have. Happy to provide some personal consulting, coaching here if that would be supportive to you. How do you know if it's a fear of stepping out of your comfort zone versus inauthentic? Great question. I would just start asking, why is it inauthentic? Why does it feel inauthentic? What is the story I'm telling myself that makes it feel inauthentic? What if I could have it both ways? I could do the action and it would be authentic. What might that look like? What if it's not so black and white? There's a lot of what ifs, right? And curiosity. What is the story I'm telling myself? I think is a really huge one. It's like, how am I interpreting this? And honestly, that question is like, why do I think I'm too cool for this or too far along for this? Or what part of me feels entitled, like I shouldn't have to do this anymore? Now I'm saying that because that's what I've been uncovering with my fear of going back into networking. And I've been just observing and just observe and watch your thoughts around it. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that makes something inauthentic is our intention for doing it. So if our intention for doing it is coming from a me, myself, I, fear-based place, that's what makes it inauthentic. Authenticity is just being in your fullest expression. You can be in your fullest expression doing dishes. You can be in your fullest expression doing cold outreach on LinkedIn. It's not the strategy that's inauthentic. Every single strategy can be infused with authenticity, I believe. So there's something else in there, some judgment of ourselves, usually an inner critic. Ooh, if I did that, people would see me this way, and I don't want to be seen that way. I'm actually dealing with some of these exact triggers myself right now. We're doing this messenger accelerator. And so we've got a sales sequence coming out to the email list, just as a heads up. It's all coming. If you don't want to get it, you can click a link and opt out of it and still stay on the list. So I have a new invitation for people, and I just got the emails back from my copywriter, and she takes anything and everything that I'm teaching or creating, and she just turns it into email magic for me. And I got one of the emails. I still don't know what I'm going to do. You guys will see when it comes across if I'm sticking with her headline or if I'm like, whoo, I'm right now exploring the self-awareness around this. The headline said, I trick people into buying stuff from me and I don't regret it. Ooh. I'm like, oh, hell to the no. We are not sending an email with that headline. Inside the email is a beautiful story of my experience of shifting a message to be more egocentric, but still holding all of the same energy, and how that impacted the cost per lead, and just like how powerful it is to have energy behind your words. And it doesn't matter what the words are, it's the intention and the energy behind them. So the inside of the email is like fucking brilliant. But that headline, I'm like, I don't think I can. This is going to ruin this is my brand. This is my brand reputation. If people see that headline and they're triggered, they're just going to bounce. This is the impression that they're going to be left with. So I'm looking at fear of rejection. I'm looking at my list like disappearing because of this triggering headline. And so I'm still trying to reconcile all this, because it's not the headline. It's what I'm making the headline mean, and my fear of rejection that's making it feel inauthentic. Can you talk more about marketing and personal brand? Yeah, one of the biggest things I'll say about marketing a personal brand, one of the biggest sticking points that I see for so many people building a business personal brand is, I want to come up with a name for it, but it's modesty and humility, pretending to be level 5, but it's really level 1. So in level 5, there's this humble confidence. And if we want to be magnetic, we have to embody it. And we have to not be afraid to share it. And that's sharing our achievements, sharing our accomplishments. It's like almost embarrassing for a lot of heart-centered personal brands to be like, and this is what I've done, and this is what I've achieved. And when we share it, we think, I don't want to brag. I don't want people to think I'm egotistical. So you can see, again, it's like that fear of rejection I was just talking about. And so some of the biggest challenges that I have working with personal brands and being a coach to personal brands is helping people step into the spotlight and feel comfortable with it, because it feels very vulnerable. But it's recognizing and remembering it's the intention underneath the share that is driving the energy. Now, if you are saying, oh my gosh, I'm the best at this and I'm the best at that and I'd beat anybody, obviously that's coming from a lower conscious place. But if the intention to share what you have accomplished through a lens of sharing and inspiring what's possible and not holding back and being a living, breathing role model of, that's a totally different intention to be sharing your stories, your achievements, your accomplishments from. And so personal brands become invisible when they hide under humility and modesty. So I think that's a really big one. Struggling to build an audience, any tips from how you build your list? Did you outsource? Okay. The audience building is, think about how many steps people have to be taking in order to come onto your list. The only way, I'll share this as a great example. Think about it through the lens of barrier to access, right? And the only way that I really built my list, there's 2 ways I've built my list. The list of 20,000 people came from Facebook ads, and it was very strategic, and I knew the ROI. So I knew that I could invest, because of how the funnel was converting on the back end into high ticket coaching. I knew that if I put $10 into Facebook, I would get $100 back out. So then it was very easy for me to just keep putting more money in, because I knew that it would keep converting on the back end. So it was like just a super beautiful, complex, oiled machine funnel. And I lost a lot of money before I made money. But once I dial it in, because I stayed focused, I was like, if one person has figured this out, if there are people out there who are getting an ROI of 1,000% or even 500%, I'm going to figure it out. I'm willing to learn whatever I need to learn to do this. And I'm going to commit and I'm going to figure it out. And if I see one coach selling high ticket on Facebook and I see that ad for 6 months, you better believe they're making money, because they're not just bleeding money. So they got something figured out that I can figure out. So that was a skill set that I committed to learning. I went really deep into that. So that was the primary way that I built my list. Now I let that list go ice cold. So right now my list, even though I built my list to 20,000 people, right now my list is just under 1,000 people. I'm not actively building my email list. And that entire list is coming from organic social media and those content amplifiers, but a lot of them I'm not even putting on an email list still. We're just delivering it directly into social. And the reason being is back to, let me just get into the mindset and the strategy of this. Anytime I add a barrier to access, I'm potentially compromising the development of the relationship. A barrier to access is, so for example, if I'm on social and I create a lead magnet, many of you have seen it. I usually do teaser posts on Facebook. Hey, I created this guide, want it? And people comment, and that increases my reach because people are commenting for it. LinkedIn, that doesn't really work. Again, the platforms are so different. And I have a very established audience of people who know, like, and trust me already, so they typically raise their hand for my stuff. Most of them are probably already on my list. So that's why else I probably do this, is there's really no benefit to re-add them to a list and create an extra barrier to access. So if they want that guide, I could send them to an opt-in page and have them submit their name and email address and then get the guide, or Ashley can just send them the guide directly in Messenger. And many times I'll choose that. Now, if it's an ice cold audience, because they're a warm audience already, so they're already engaging in a very intimate way. Now, on Facebook ads, I want to do a little bit more. It's such an ice cold audience that I'm like, you know, I need a little more barrier to access here. They got to go through a few more hoops before they come onto my list, because I want my list to be clean. I want my list to be maintained, right? So I'm going to create extra barrier to access for somebody who's ice cold to come onto my list. And yeah, that's like just thinking about the whole strategy. So then how do we just build the audience? So now, right now, if we think about a traditional organic social and the time it takes to build organically on social is first I have to build my audience, because organic is limited. There is one course that I really love. I gift it to many of my clients. And if anybody wants it, like specific to LinkedIn, it works if you do the work. I'm not consistent enough. I don't do the work, but I did it for a couple weeks. I'm like, oh, it fucking works. Okay, that's cool. So I do recommend it. So if anybody wants that, just let me know. I'm happy to send over the link. Or let Ashley know. She's probably better at that stuff. But so if we're trying to build our list off of social media, first we have to build the audience. So now how do we build the audience? We're sending connect requests every single day. We're starting to build a relationship with the people that we're connecting with. So if we're connecting with people and we're like, oh my gosh, I really do think this person is so intriguing and so interesting, we might send them a private message, very authentic, and just say, I'm truly grateful to be connected here. I'm really excited to see what you share and what you post about, given your interest in XYZ. So it's like customized. We just do the time. We do the legwork. We like take the time to really connect, right? So then that person, because we've had a little bit of a brief engagement in Messenger, they're more likely to see my content. But again, that's like a long path, right? I have to send the connection request. I'm sending customized welcome, hello, good to be connected messages to people who say yes. And I'm creating content every single day or multiple times a week, and hoping that then they catch the content. And then not only that, so now they've had to accept my connection request, they've received my message, they're now seeing my content, they're now going to a link to download something, they're entering their name and email address, and then they're receiving the guide, and then they're receiving the emails that then guide them into a conversation. And you can like just see it's, and so it's beautiful to have that asset. It's a powerful asset. It's an amazing lead magnet. And we're always thinking, what's the shortest path to just open up the conversation? And so Messenger direct conversation is going to be the shortest path, building that relationship, authentically connecting with the stuff that they're sharing. And so the content and lead magnet is, again, that's a secondary pathway for you. It might feel like your primary pathway because you're tired of networking. Potentially, I'm just making shit up. But yeah, building the audience on LinkedIn, there's really only one way, is to send connect requests. You can send 30 of them every single day. You're hoping that you get maybe a 20% acceptance rate. There's some automation to send those connect requests and target people in. I actually don't mind the automation for connect requests. I just won't ever use it for messaging because it's too inauthentic, and just run it like clockwork. And the audience will build that. And then the course that I was recommending recommends commenting on other people's stuff. And then that starts to increase the reach as well for LinkedIn. But it's tricky because it has to feel authentic. I have a new coaching website focused on breast cancer survivorship. I recently went on a bike ride for survivors and offered coaching. I'm not sure what to send the founder to get the survivor's contact info. She's supportive. Should I send a survey, a website link, offer via email? It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month and I need some traction. Okay, awesome. So this is a relationship. She's open. So you've already broken through the first kind of door, which is really awesome and exciting. And what I would do is I would open it up more like a conversation and determine what the win would be for her. No matter what, when we're starting to create strategic partnerships, the thing we want to make sure is that we make it so easy on them. So one, I don't know where the conversation was left off. So if you want to pop that in, let me know exactly where the conversation was left off, where the relationship is already established from. Has she already agreed that you can market, connect with? Is she willing to open up her audience to you? So let me know that piece first and foremost, because that's going to determine where the conversation goes. So if you went on the bike ride and you offered coaching, she's not just going to give you the contacts of people for no. She's willing to open up her audience. Okay. So I would just reiterate, I have to speak things out loud and then you'll take it and make it your own. Again, I would name it breast cancer, come up with something, your breast cancer thriving session, or not just surviving, but thriving session, thriving beyond breast cancer session, your what's next past breast cancers, like whatever it is you want to call it, knowing that audience. And I would say the benefits of it. So again, we want to name the session. We want to make sure that they understand like there's a benefit to it. This isn't just a coaching session. You're going to get something out of it. There's a reason why you're going to want to invest your time. Even though it's a free coaching session, we're asking people to invest their time. That's our only non-renewable resource. So what would make it worth their time? And that's why we come up with a benefit-focused title and the benefits of investing that 60 minutes. Because here's what we're going to cover and here's what you're going to walk away with. You're going to walk away from this call feeling excited, energized, and ready to tackle your next obstacles that have even more meaning for you than tackling breast cancer, whatever it may be, right? So we want to frame up that session and the value of it in order for people to be able to take advantage of it, because nobody's buying coaching and nobody's buying a coaching session. What most people are hearing when you're like, oh, I'll give you a free coaching session, what they're hearing is, that sounds like a waste of my time. What they're hearing is like, why? For what? Is there ulterior motives here? What will that do? Why would I give up an hour for that? So they're hearing stuff like that. I'd reach out to her and I would just say, hey, I had a lovely time. We had talked about XYZ and I'd love to take that next step. Would it be all right if I crafted an email? And then you want to get a buy-in. Would it be all right if I crafted an email for the audience that you could send them, that could be sent on my behalf? Or I'm happy to send it if that's easier as well. So basically it's like, how can you make it super easy for the leader of this group? Whereas it's awesome, let's do this. I will write the email, I will send the email. How can I make it easy for you? I would also edify her in the email. So you're really establishing that relationship in an authentic way. I'm so honored to have been able to partner with so-and-so who has, and again, it's authentic, it's not manipulative, but genuinely like feeling grateful, who has been willing to share my gifts with you. And this is the gift I'd like to offer you and invite you into, is these blah, blah, blah sessions. Here's what you're going to get out of it. Here's what you're going to walk away with. And then I would just assume that people are going to say yes. So then I typically write in a state of assumption that's, I'm really looking forward to meeting you. And here's the link to book your complimentary breast cancer survivor to thriver session, whatever you decide to call it. Hopefully that answers your question. So I offered free coaching for 50 survivors so that I can sit for my certification. Oh man, I got a little bee in my bonnet about this one because, so coaching certification, same thing for the IPEC certification, 10 complimentary sessions. So what I see a lot of coaches do is they start to damage their personal brand right out of the gate because the offer for a coaching session is already positioned to be to help me. Oh, I have this many sessions I need to do for my certification. Would anybody be willing to help me out? And then all of your friends are like, sure, I'll help you out. And some of them genuinely want to help out and some might feel like an obligation because they really care about you. But that's just a weird energy. And so how do we reframe it and position it so that's not about you and what you're trying to get? So it's easy for us to fall back on that. I really like to set the stage of this is an extremely valuable thing that I'm offering, and they're only going to be free for so long because I'm still in my certification, or they're only going to be offered freely in this way for so long because lucky for you, I'm still in my certification. It's like, how do we establish the true value of it that has nothing to do with us and everything to do with them? Okay. I attend quite a bit of in-person networking, but nobody wants to have coaching conversations with me. Yeah, so I'd love to know more about your messaging because it can be similar to what we were just talking about here as well. There has to be, this is the sacred trickster that I've been talking about too. If it's ethereal or not specific enough, the brain dismisses it. I actually started looking more into this because I was so curious about it because I'm like, good God, why do people go for hard skills over soft skills? What does the brain want? It wants the hard shit. And so I was researching a little bit like, why is that? Why is the brain set up that way? And it's because of our reward system. We get immediate gratification. So if we have a micro topic that's boom, I will help you with XYZ hard skill, people are like, hell yeah, sign me up. If you're like, I will help you with confidence, they're like, first I need to learn this hard skill, then we'll talk about confidence. Because they don't know what they don't know, and our brain isn't designed or developed to be able to see that as valuable as the hard thing. So a bridge message is really like, how do you combine both? Or how do you make a brain react to a soft skill the way that it reacts to a hard skill? And so I'm digressing a little bit, but I'll share with you that the reason why I'm really exploring this is I want to actually figure out how to crack the code on marketing and selling these ridiculously like hidden determinants of success. We don't get success without consciousness and energy, and any success we do get is so short-lived. It's like crucial. We all believe in this so much. It's so crucial, but how do we articulate that in a message? The reason why our messages keep falling short is because there's all these other messages they've cracked the code on, the trickster message that's pursuing these hard skills that the brain is like, give me that. They're like, yeah, if I'm going to invest, I'm going to invest in this too. First, I want to learn sales. First, I want to learn how to pitch. First, I want to learn public speaking. Then I'll talk about confidence. What we know as coaches is that the other one actually comes first in order for you to be successful at that. So when I started pitching soft skills to schools, because they were so focused on these kids who are at risk of dropping out, I'd actually found a way to tickle their brain in a way that was like, yes, we need that. And it was, I'd write out this graph, there's the what and the how, and I share the story all the time. I went to a networking event and I would say, okay, I could ask any one of you what you need to do to scale your business, and every single one of you would have an answer, wouldn't you? Exactly what to do to scale your business. Let me ask you this, why haven't you done it yet? That's where I come in. So I would use that elevator pitch because I would have to help people understand you're not missing the what and the how, most of you. You're missing the who and the why, the confidence, the imposter syndrome, the fear, the this, the that. But if I say, oh, I help you overcome fear, they don't think they have fear until you have to hold it up in their face and their brain kind of goes, oh shit, I do have, oh gosh, look at that. I'm trying to go to this networking event and I'm like, I don't have any work clothes. I've been wearing athleisure for 10 years. What do I wear to a networking event? What is business casual? What is style? I've got all these freaking excuses. When my son's home from college, I think maybe I should hold off until next month to go to this event. Hundreds of fucking excuses. I know my next step is to go to this damn networking event, yet everything in my brain, the soft side of things, is saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, you're not ready yet. And I have to just do it. I have to do it anyway, or I'm appeasing the part of my brain, and because I know enough about consciousness and energy. But you think, I'm on a total tangent, but you think about the people that you're talking to, and if you're trying to tell them to overcome their fear, and they're like, no, I need to know how to network. I'm like, no, don't tell me I need to once I know what clothes to wear and how to do an elevator pitch and all these hard skills, then I'm just going to go to the networking event. I don't need more confidence and I don't have any fear. I just need to learn these few skills and then I'll be there. It's bullshit. It's all inner blocks. I'm just focused on the perceived outer blocks, which there are no outer blocks. It's all inner blocks and excuses. So that's where a lot of times personal brand messaging falls flat, is because people don't believe us. Just like and only because my own self-awareness can I say that's called bullshit on myself, right? So I need to figure out what to wear. I don't really have any clothes. I need to go shopping first. Once I have this, and once I have that, and once I have that, and once I have that, then it'll be easy for me to go to the networking event. I'm focused on all this hard shit, hard skills. Easy, check the box. Oh, I'll find something else. This list over here is a bottomless pit because it's not an outer block, it's an inner block. Okay, I hope that helped. And so with that, I think we'll shut her down for this mystery masterclass. Thank you all for sticking around and asking questions. I love your questions. They just unlock so much excitement and passion in me. And thank you. Thank you for the vulnerability and your willingness to ask the questions and receive. Thank you for receiving. That's a huge gift too. All right. See you in 2 weeks. Love you all. Have a great rest of your week.